Today we're going to take a look at how to deploy the Ansible AWX Automation Tool on Debian 11.4 in the cloud on the Amazon Lightsail service. So Ansible AWX is a free and open source automation tool that can be used to automate your workflows and processes. It provides a powerful and easy to use platform for managing your infrastructure and automating repetitive tasks. With its easy-to-use interface, it is a system that allows users to quickly deploy applications and services with minimal effort. So let's take a look at an overview of the steps covered in this tutorial. First, I'll show you how to deploy the Debian 11.4 instance. Second, I'll show you how to connect to the instance via SSH and update the system repository. I'll also show you how to configure a custom hostname and to point an A record to the instance. I'll show you how to install Ansible, how to download and install Docker as well as Docker Compose. I'll show you how to install the Ansible AWX system using Docker Compose. And then finally, I'll then show you how to access the Ansible AWX dashboard. So let's start the setup process. So I've already signed into my Amazon Web Services account. So use the search box at the top of the page to search for Lightsail. Click on the returned Lightsail search result to open up the dashboard. On the dashboard, click on the Create Instance button. This then opens up the instance creation wizard. Click on OS only and then choose the Debian 11.4 instance type. Select the $10 plan and then on the Identify Your Instance field, type in Ansible AWX server. So I'm just going to type that in and then click on the Create Instance button. So once the instance has been created, the next thing you need to do is to copy the public IP address for the instance and then open up the Amazon Route 53 service. So you just need to return back to the AWS dashboard and run a simple search for Route 53. Click on the returned Route 53 search result to open up the dashboard. Click on Hosted Zones and click on any one hosted zone for your registered domain names. Click on Create Record. And then I'm going to set the record name to Ansible and then paste in the public IP address for the instance on the value field. Click on the Create Records button to create the A record. Return back to the Lightsail dashboard and click on the Ansible instance. So the next thing we're going to do is to change the networking configuration. So click on the Networking tab and we're going to open up HTTPS port 443. So choose HTTPS and then click on the Create button. You can also optionally disable IPv6 networking. Simply click on the IPv6 networking button to actually disable it. And once it's been disabled, you can return back to the Connect tab. Scroll down and click on the Download Default Key link. This should then download the key pair file that we'll use to connect to the instance via SSH. So I'm going to rename the key pair file to Ansible key.pem. so that I can easily reference to this key pair from within the terminal. So I'm going to open up my terminal application and change my working directory to the downloads directory. Then simply run the command chmod 400 ansible key.pem. To connect to the instance via SSH, run the command sshi, type in the file name for the key pair file, and then type in admin, and I'll just copy the public IP address for the instance and paste that into the terminal such that it then says admin at the public IP for the instance. So if you press enter, you should now see a verification prompt. Simply type in yes, and if you press enter, I should now be connected to the instance. So I'm just going to type in the command sudo su so that I can elevate my access rights to the root user. So I'll type in the command hostnamectl, set hostname, and I'm just going to set the hostname to Ansible server. So once the hostname has been updated, simply run the command nano etc hosts. In this host configuration file, I will just make an edit to what's already configured in this file. So I'm just going to type in 127.0.0.1 and I'll point that to ansible.mydomainname.com. And then you simply specify Ansible at the end there. So exit out of the file, and you also need to edit the cloud.cfg configuration file. So type in the command nano etc cloud and then specify the cloud.cfg file. In this file, you need to set the preserve hostname parameter to true. This actually helps to ensure that the custom hostname that we've set will actually persist across reboots. So you just need to save and exit out of that file. And there's another file that needs to be edited, but I'll just check the path from the host configuration file. So just copy that path and then type in the command nano and then paste in that path. So once you've opened that file, you also need to then remove the default entries that are there, and then I'll also specify my custom host name. So that's going to be ansible.mydomainname.com and then Ansible at the end there. So press Ctrl or press enter and then press Ctrl X to exit out of the file. So finally, we're just going to update the system repository. So simply issue the command apt update and then just run the command reboot so that all of the changes we've made will actually take effect. So I'm going to reconnect to the instance, and if you type in the command sudo su, you actually notice that it says unable to resolve host Ansible server. So I'm actually going to correct that. So you need to edit the etc host configuration file, and in this file you need to add another entry. So I'm just going to type in 127.0.1.1 and I'll actually point that to Ansible server. Press Ctrl or press enter and then press Ctrl X to exit out of the file. I'll also add this change to the host.debian file. So just type in the command nano and then specify the path to the file. And then what you simply need to do is to also add the entry 127.0.1.1 and then simply point that to Ansible server. So press Ctrl or press enter and then press Ctrl X to exit out of the file. So the next thing that needs to be done is to install some essential dependencies. So I'm just going to paste in a command that will actually install those dependencies, which actually include the unzip utility that will actually use to unzip the AWX installation package. So you just simply need to wait for the installation process to complete before we then proceed to the next step. So what we're actually going to do now is to install the Docker utility. So simply type in the command apt install docker. So once the installation is complete, the next thing that we're actually going to install is Docker Compose. So simply type in the command apt install Docker Compose. So if you press enter, this should then kickstart the installation process. So this also takes about a minute or so to install. But once that's done, we're then going to install Ansible. So simply type in the command apt install Ansible. The Ansible package is actually the most important component for this setup, and it is the part that actually does the heavy lifting. So the next thing that we're actually going to do is to paste in a command to install node.js as well as npm. So you need to copy and paste that command to then install those two packages. So next I'm then going to install npm using the global option. So just copy and paste that command to install the npm package. And then next I'm then going to install pip get as well as a password generator called pwgen. So just copy and paste that command to install those three packages. That should take about a minute or so as well. And once that's done, I'm going to install the Docker Compose module that matches the version of Docker Compose actually. And we should be good to go to then set up AWX. So first I'll just download the archive and then use the unzip utility to unzip the downloaded AWX zip file. So I've instructed that file and I'll just move into the AWX directory and move into the installer directory. So I'm going to use the password generator to generate a random secure password. So just copy that password, proceed to then open up the inventory configuration file. So just type in the command nano inventory. In this file, there's a few parameters that need to be modified. So I'm just going to enable the admin password parameter and I'll set a password of secure password. I'll also modify the create preload data to false. So that should then ensure that there is no demonstration data that will actually be imported into the AWX system. So finally, I'll then issue out the Ansible playbook command to then start the installation process. So what this command does is it will then set up the essential Docker containers that are needed to then run the AWX system. So if you issue the docker ps command, you'll actually see that we've got that AWX container that is actually listing for connections on port 80. So just type in the domain name or the A record that I pointed to the Debian 11 instance, and this should then open up the Ansible AWX login page. So I'll type in the username admin as well as the secure password and then click on login. So there you have it. I've actually successfully logged into the AWX system, and from here you can now start using the AWX system for automation purposes. So that's been it, guys. That's a quick look at how you can set up Ansible AWX on a cloud-hosted Debian 11.4 instance. Please consider to like and subscribe to the channel, and please also share this video with your peers, colleagues, and friends. I hope this tutorial has been informative, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.